I would like to introduce our guest speaker today. She works for NICHES Land Trust, and NICHES stands for Northern Indiana Citizens Helping Ecosystems Survive, which has a mission to protect, restore, and sustain Northern Indiana's ecosystems. Brooke just told me that she's fairly new to Indiana. She's worked for NICHES as the Education and Outreach Coordinator since August. Is that right? So we'd like to welcome her to Indiana. But even though she's new to Indiana, she's been working in environmental education and communication for 18 years. So we appreciate that she's going to bring her experience to help protect and restore our natural areas.
Thank you so much. First, I want to thank you all for having me here today. I'm honored to be able to speak with a group of such civically minded and engaged citizens, so I really appreciate that opportunity. NICHES Land Trust. There we go. Our mission is to protect, restore, and sustain Northern Indiana's ecosystems by providing habitat for native species and offering natural places for the education, appreciation, and enjoyment for current and future generations. We do that in a number of ways and in a number of places. Oh, okay, could I?
Every time you make the motion, like
Okay, then he'll change it. Okay. So where do we do that? We have a 13-county service area in central Indiana, north central Indiana. Tippecanoe County and Lafayette is sort of central to that area, but we serve as far north as Newton and Jasper counties and as far south as Montgomery County. We go all the way to the Illinois border and we reach out eastward as far as protruding Howard County there, and that includes Kokomo. Very strange to not have the clicker. Click. This is a map from our website which shows each of those. Oh,
I'm sorry.
that's all right. Can I have it for the laser pointer though? This is a map that you can find if you go to our website, and each of these icons that you see represent a property that we own throughout our service area. And when you go to our website, can you click on the screen? It will take you to our website. So say it's a nice day and you want to go out to a property, but you're not really sure how to get there. If you go to our website, and let's pretend that you did, it's still loading, but that's all right. You would then click on the icon, and from there you could either go to a web page that tells you all about that property, or you could go to directions. Oh, there it was for just a second. Or it gives you directions on how to find that property. If you scroll down a little bit, see it's an interactive map, and each of those items could send you to more information. Could we go back to the slideshow? Yeah, that took longer to load than I thought, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on that. So there's our website, www.nicheslandtrust.org, and you don't have to remember that because I gave you some of our quarterly newsletters, and it's on the back of there along with our contact information if you ever want to contact us, or if you have any questions, I can go ahead and give you information from that. Our mission actually boils down to 3 words. We like to help ecosystems survive. And we do that in a number of ways, including acquisition of lands and stewardship, or the care of those lands. We help ecosystems survive by protecting and enhancing the biodiversity of native habitats, so the number of different plants and animals that live and survive in those ecosystems. We protect that in areas that are still remnants, undeveloped over time, but also we sometimes get lands that have been developed and then we're returning them back to a native ecosystem. We remove invasive species, and these are plants, predominantly plants, although there are invasive species animals too, but we deal with the plants, and they have invaded a native ecosystem and they change the soil and in such a way that native plants can't really survive there. We restore disused agricultural land to native communities. We ensure that the public has access to natural areas because we think that the quality of life is enhanced by individuals spending time in and with nature. And in order to do that, we provide events and other opportunities for folks to get out. We also provide research opportunities to Purdue students and high school students and professionals in the field so that they can learn about the natural ecosystems and spread the word. How do we acquire property? Well, there are a number of ways that we acquire property. We're a nonprofit organization, and we started based on the needs of a few concerned citizens who came together and saw that land was being developed at a rapid rate and we were losing our natural areas, and that we wanted to make sure that as we progressed forward as a culture, we also had spaces where we could connect to our past and to our natural areas. So they came together, and now, 21 years later, we serve a 13-county area, and we have over 41 properties dedicated to public access. We acquired those properties through membership and financial donations by individuals. We also partner with foundations and governments to gain financial support. For example, the Indiana Heritage Trust, which is a state-funded system, helps us to acquire certain lands. The Roy Whistler Foundation also works to conserve Indiana natural habitats. And the McAllister Foundation. We also partner with larger and small organizations such as the Nature Conservancy or the Wildcat Creek Guardians to care for the land. Sometimes we have a bargain sale from the owner, and we also accept outright donations. We work not only to care for the areas that we own, but we also want to have landscape level conservation and habitat restoration. And in order to do that, we work to acquire tracts of land that are contiguous or nearly contiguous. Like these that you can kind of see the red, those are our properties along the Wabash River from Tippecanoe County along the edge of Warren and Fountain County going down. So we try to get adjacent lands when we can, and when we can't, I'm ready for a forward, it's not doing it this time. We work with all these other organizations, private landowners, state properties, county properties, city parks, university property, and then we collectively and collaboratively work to conserve those lands. We steward nearly 3,100 acres of our own properties by protecting existing remnants, restoring habitats, and conserving natural areas. And we provide public access. Our properties are open from dawn till dusk daily, free of charge, and we have 15 miles of trails. Not all of our properties have trails, but even the properties that don't have trails, we welcome folks to go out and visit and have that direct connection with undeveloped natural areas. One of the major ecosystems that we protect and restore are prairies. We use a number of mechanisms for doing that. We plant native species. We use fire as a management tool, and there's a whole slide about fire later, so I won't talk about that right now. And we remove those invasive species that I told you about. This is a not restored yet area. This was an agricultural field at Moyer Gold Woods, which is off of 421 between Monticello and Delphi, so north of here. We prepared the land, we conducted a fire. You can hardly tell, but all this black is because it's right after a fire and the natural fuel has been returned to the soil. And then we collected seeds from our other properties of native prairie plants. And in a few years, those seeds we've now dispersed on this property will develop into a full blooming prairie, like this one at Fisher Oak Nature Savanna, which is near Wolcott in Jasper County. We also do woodland restoration for savannas and forests. We plant native trees. A international company, Arbor America, who has a local presence, donated hundreds of trees to us from their stock of trees, and we've been planting those on our habitats. We also strategically applied herbicide to get rid of plants that are invading that ecosystem and making a monoculture so that native plants can't survive. And we also used controlled burn. And here comes the promised information about controlled burns. Our controlled burn season is actually happening right now. March is the key season because the weather is right. The plants haven't emerged yet. There are dry days, although obviously not today. And the wind is generally right. Fire is carried by natural fuel. So here in this savanna, this is a roadway, which is a natural fire break. Fire can't carry across the road. There's just no way for it to happen. And then we drop fire with a drip torch that has petroleum fuel inside it. We drop fire onto the ground, and then the natural fuel carries the fire through the ecosystem. In a woodland, the natural fuel, as you can imagine, is the leaf litter that's on the ground. And in a prairie, it's all those grasses that are now dead because the top growth only lasts for 1 year, and then new growth comes out every year. And then the fire carries it, and that is how we burn an area. Our staff, this is Brad, he's one of our land stewardship managers, and he's actually the person in charge of taking care of plague. directly. He's out there on the trails. We have a weekly work day, and he actually lives at the Clegg House now. And we also have volunteers that come out and staff our burns. We train those volunteers and provide them the appropriate gear to manage a burn. You really, really, really can't tell, but there's a lot of green here on the floor of the, oh, thank you, that's much better. Because after a burn, the nutrients are returned to the soil, and so then the native plants can green up very quickly, and it becomes a very vibrant community and very vibrant habitat. The other way that we help ecosystems survive is through education and outreach. We come out and speak to organizations such as yourself and schools and boys and girls clubs. Thank you for helping me out. We also work to provide and advocate for access to Indiana waterways. We host monthly floats on the Wildcat that are free of charge, and we also have a limited number of boats we can provide. So if you or anyone you know likes to get out on the water but doesn't have their own boat or wants to go in a group because they don't want to be out there by themselves, starting in April, the first Thursday of every month, we host a float. And we also foster access by providing or working with others to provide access points every 12 waterway miles. We have kayaks and a couple of canoes, yes. Clay Garden, which I am guessing you are all familiar with, I would hope so. It's along the Wildcat Creek. It has 16 acres of woodland, a rare gravel hill prairie, and a native garden. We're currently transitioning from the original garden to a native garden. We have some landscaping and renovation coming in this spring. And then we also offer regular programs for scout groups and the public to come out and have kids to connect with nature. And as I said, it houses our administrative offices. This summer, I am thrilled to announce that we are hosting our first day camp. For 2 weeks in July, we will be hosting a Wildcat-centric day camp. We will be having children aged 11 to 14 come out and explore the natural areas in and along the Wildcat. We'll be paddling. They'll be doing some exploration of the ecosystems by catching some critters and identifying them and learning what that tells us about the ecosystem. And also, they will be creating art because we'll be working with an artist in resident. Philip Dahm is our artist in resident. He's actually coming in from out west somewhere. And we will work with them to create arts. Education and outreach, we also offer workshops for adults in conservation, land stewardship, native species identification, and planting ideas, invasive species control, restoration practices, and other topics including photography, watercolor, so that we want adults to also have educational experiences on the land. We host a number of variety of things. Bird walks, nature walks, art exhibits, macroinvertebrate sampling, which means that's this bottom picture down here, catching what's living in there and then finding out what it is. We work with a wet group that does Wednesdays in the wild so that every Wednesday afternoon you're getting out and learning about nature. If you're ever curious about upcoming events, there are a number of ways that you can be kept in the know. You can ask me to add you to our email list, and we send a monthly email that not only has stories about what we're doing in conservation and on the land here in Indiana, but also tells you what events are upcoming. Another way is if you are a member and you get our print newsletter, if you check out the back page, the back inside page, it has a list of upcoming events. However, the nature of print media means it has to be ready so far in advance that there are often more events than can fit into this print media, or they're planned after we print the media. So the best place to go is our searchable website calendar, and you can search by county, by activity level, by whether it's an on-the-water program, so it's got a searchable database. So that is how to find out what's going on. The other way that we achieve our mission is through volunteers. Last year, in 2015, we cataloged over 3,500 hours of volunteer service. We had volunteers come out and do collective work days from scout groups to Purdue groups to church groups, but we also have individuals who have a long-term relationship with an individual property and they go out on their own time and steward that property. We do waterway cleanups on the Wildcat and the Sugar Creek and the Iroquois. We work with the Wildcat River Enhancement Corporation. They're doing a blitz pretty soon. So we plant trees, as I said. So we have ways to be actively involved, moderately involved, and low impact involved to take care of our native areas based on your interest, ability, geographic location, things of that nature. Thank you. Thank you. You're an excellent PowerPoint projector advancer, so I appreciate that. And if anybody had any questions about our organizations or what we do, I would be glad to field that now, and afterwards I'll be hanging around. So, yes?
On the education outreach you talked about, are there any age restrictions or limits on what you're trying to do there?
No. Once a month we host a Heartland Outdoor Adventures, and that's designed to get kids and families connecting with nature, but then other events are targeted for adults. So we try to host a number of events so that we are reaching a variety of populations. And actually, moving forward this year, one of our goals is to diversify the populations that we're reaching. So we're trying to reach out to some English as a second language folks. We're trying to reach out to some special needs organizations so that we're making sure that everyone in our community has a chance to connect with nature.
So would Ross Hills be part of your...
We do not own Ross Hills, but we work with Ross Hills to conduct burns and remove invasive species and conduct a management plan. Yes?
How many acres do you own?
How many acres do we own? We have just shy of 3,100 acres. And growing, I suppose.
How many employees do you have?
We have 4.5 employees. We have our executive director, Gus Nyberg, our 2 stewardship managers who are in charge of managing the land in our 13 county areas. We have the education outreach coordinator, and then an executive assistant who's half-time. That's why I say 4.5.
And what is your, are you part-time?
I'm a full-time education and outreach coordinator, so I lead events, I organize events, and I go out and visit folks. And I also manage the website and print the newsletter.
But you don't pull weeds.
I do pull weeds, actually. Tuesday I led a work day at Clegg. Yeah, I'm leading some garlic mussels. So I do a little bit of everything.
I'm sure you know this, but Jim Peterson was Mr. Nature
I know.
in this city for years and years.
Yes, we are honored with our relationship with Jim because he took care of Clegg from 1966 to 2014, and then in his stead we stepped in 2014. So and I've actually interviewed Jim before about the history of Clegg. So yeah, we're honored to know Jim.
Now, is Clegg Gardens, are they owned by your organization?
I didn't catch it.
Is Clegg Gardens owned by NICHES now? I think that we do
Oh, yeah.
officially own it.
Yeah.
That was part of the transfer over of management is also ownership.
Transferred it over in 2013.
And then we moved in 2014.
Yeah.
And we have one fund, we have various, if you wanted to talk finances of the organization, Gus Nyberg, our executive director, is a better person to do that. But we do have a fund that's dedicated to stewardship, and we have a fund that's dedicated to Clegg Gardens specifically. Because Clegg Garden is different than any of our other properties in that it predates us. Clegg's in its 51st year, we're in our 21st year. And Clegg gets 12,000 visitors a year, and most of our other properties are not nearly as well known as Clegg, so it's a little different than the others. Yes, Jim?
On your summer day camp for
Yes.
the kids,
Mm-hmm.
they go home at night?
Yes, we meet at Clegg every morning at 8:30, and then they get picked up every afternoon at 4:30.
Okay.
So it's a day camp. You're welcome. And if you want to find out more about that, you can contact me, and there's also a page dedicated to it on our website. Back to Taka. There is a fee. The day camp costs $125 per camper per week. We base that on a number of things, including what it costs to sustain that. We've got a 15-passenger van, and we load up the canoes every day and drive them out to. And believe it or not, renting a 15-passenger van is probably the biggest expense for summer camp. So, yeah. Oh, I didn't see your hand. Yes.
Is NICHES receiving money just from donations?
Strictly from donations, membership, and grants, yes. And partnerships with endowments, which I don't know if that's exactly a grant, but yes.
How many members are your board of directors?
We have 15 people on our board of directors, and their term is a 3-year term, and they're limited to 3 3-year terms so that we are constantly maintaining and supporting. So we have they can be with us for 9 years, but then we have to have new folks come in on the board. So both we balance stability and vibrancy, I guess.
How many of those are from Tippecanoe County?
I would say 60%, because we have some folks from Montgomery on the board, some folks from Carroll on the board. But as far as our membership goes, we have Warren County, believe it or not, is our highest percent of membership per capita. I mean, we have more members from Tippecanoe County, but the percentage is slightly lower. We have 9% of Warren County are members in NICHES Land Trust and 8.5% in Tippecanoe County, which is more people because it's a bigger county. But those are our two biggest areas.
Who's the president of your board?
Dan Towery. And there is a page all about our board on the website too. Yes?
How many people have been hurt or killed crossing from the parking lot at Clay
Oh.
Gardens?
Fortunately none, but it is perhaps the most dangerous place to cross the road in all of that area of Lafayette. I know that I don't like to do it every day. Excellent. Well, thank you very much for your time, and hopefully we'll see you out on the land.
All right, Angie, sorry, I'm skipping ahead. Brooke, thank you so much for your time in that great presentation, said with a lot of enthusiasm. And as a token of appreciation, we have this calendar and Post-it notes
Thank you very much.
to help you out.
And I like how it says Lafayette Kiwanis. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. And pulling up the rear of our programs in March on the outdoors will be Angie Manuel that will speak next week. She's the interpretive naturalist for Prophetstown State Park, and she'll talk about medicinal plants, herbs, and wildflowers on the grounds. Thank you.